Hello, everybody. Today is December 30th, and we're doing business and social today. And it also is a very, very long episode, probably, because there's a lot of stories.
We could say, see you next year when we sign off today, but that's not actually accurate because we're going to be back tomorrow
live
with a live stream.
Woo!
Which will then, and then Friday will still be recorded. It's a little bit weird, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah, a weird week. Yeah.
It'll make perfect sense if you're on Patreon or Floatplane.
And that, it really makes sense to be on that anyway, right? I mean, who doesn't want to do that? So let's talk about some business and a little bit of social media. The thing about 2020, everything was bad, but the whole smartphone and PC sales actually rebounded because what other choice do we have?
Toward the end of the year, yeah.
We're pushed into their arms, and that has created a new king.
MediaTek becomes the biggest smartphone chipset vendor. MediaTek is 31%, which
that's a lot.
That's a good diversity in that market, though. And diversity breeds innovation.
So congratulations, MediaTek, I guess.
And Apple's launching their own 5G lineup, so everybody expects Apple's going to crush everybody.
And Apple, if we use this as a measuring stick, probably had a pretty good Q4 because they signed on a lot of new devices. In fact, too many.
Apple iCloud issues followed Christmas activation rush. Just one day after Christmas, Apple noted that some users were still having a problem with the storage service, but eventually the matter was resolved.
Krista, any new electronics in your Christmas circle go down? Did you witness any of that?
I think one of my younger cousins got a new phone, but I wasn't there to witness that. I just heard about it secondhand.
Do you know what brand
he wanted
it was?
a PS5. He wanted a PS5, but didn't get one. I don't think it was an Apple, but I'm not sure.
That's a big difference between new PS5 and new phone.
Well, it was impossible to find a PS5.
Did they get him a Stadia account for that phone?
I don't think so.
You say there's a big difference, but not in price. The phone might actually be more expensive than a PS5.
That's true.
No, the phone is probably cheaper.
Well, it
because
depends
the
on
PS5s
the
are so inflated right now.
But some phones will run you $1,000 easy.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who's gotten a PS5 for less than $1,500. Isn't that what they're going on eBay right now? That's the last time I looked at it.
I think I might have relented a little bit now, but yeah.
That's horrifying. I bet TSMC feels like the belle of the ball. The reports are that Apple bought all their 5 nanometer capacity for 2021 already.
It's nice. Nice job security, I guess. Now,
no bonuses for the though.
When we have anything related to Lord of the Rings or camping or whatever, I throw it in because I know Chris is going to be into it. And if it's Star Trek or this company, I know that Wendell will be triggered by it. So you got to throw him in, right?
Oh, I can't read the headline, but it turns out that Oracle is behind the Google antitrust lawsuit. At least this article would have you believe that.
Well, behind it, I think they kind of nudged things into that direction. And by nudged, I mean spent a lot of money.
Yeah. They have a presentation that is not public. It's like black site. Krista, this is totally Lord of the Rings stuff here. This is Sauron talking through Grimmer Wormtongue and the King of Gondor is the will of the people.
I feel like you don't know enough about it.
Yeah, you didn't get the right king there.
Oh, okay.
See it in Rohan.
Oh, yeah. King of... Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
Whatever that nerd shit is.
But here's the thing, though. Do you think that the government is in that same situation where they've been poisoned in their mind, or did they want to do this anyway?
No, I think that they were poisoned in their mind, and they want control. Like, it's not about whether or not Google is in a monopoly position. I honestly don't think that when Barr stepped down, but I don't think Barr cared. What I think Barr cared about was not getting a surreptitious back door, and he was looking to ruffle whatever feathers he can.
But also money. They want money.
Yeah, and Amazon, I think, is the far worse antitrust offender, the worst in America right now, and they're not getting the attention and scrutiny that they need.
Well, maybe Apple will prepare a presentation as well. Just everybody throwing everybody else under the bus. Now, 5G was the hot topic of 2019. Then 2020 was kind of a big speed bump for that because not a lot happened in 2020 and not a lot of people were focusing on infrastructure. But if this is any indication, they are ready to get started again.
5G auction shatters a record as bidding tops $69 billion. The FCC sale of wireless licenses has already hit new spending highs, and the total could climb after the holiday break. So this is the low end. But 5G is a little bit of a misnomer here. It's a little misleading because 5G has more segments of spectrum than any previously, because you've got long haul 5G, you've got short range 5G, and they're using different frequencies. They've got a plan. They've got a top-down plan, unlike 3G and 4G, which were just sort of hodgepodge together.
Now I bet that $69 billion will go right into improving broadband infrastructure.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
no doubt.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. All the people in rural America are going to really put that money to good use.
Problem's going to be solved.
I can't wait because I'm looking for our house.
I still can't get over the whole Oracle, because Oracle's also been poisoning their minds with respect to the whole Java API. This is going to be a really dark time for software if Oracle has their way.
Or the U.S. government. So, one company, it's obvious that Zoom killed it during the pandemic. It's obvious that Amazon killed it during the pandemic. But one company that isn't obvious, Tesla.
Yeah.
Tesla is just knocking it out of the park. And a lot of people who are looking at that are like, yeah, but they don't really have a competitor. Who's their competitor? And certainly everybody else, it seems, has fumbled the electric car. Nobody else can figure it out. But player 15 maybe have more luck here.
Apple targets car production by 2024 and eyes next level battery technology. Now, normally we would admit this, but this is from Reuters. Reuters actually has some pretty compelling sources for some of their own stuff.
And if Apple puts their full war chest up against an electric car, they'll probably do it pretty well. It probably won't start without your Apple ID, but it'll be a really good electric car.
The internet's down. When there's an AT&T outage, the entire mall parking lot is just immobile.
Or if you install an alternator from another country that doesn't have the digital signature. I guess, I'm sorry, it wouldn't need an alternator. It's an electric car. A drive motor or whatever.
We've detected that you're not using the Apple iTires. Your operational range. Your operational range has been reduced to 5 miles.
It's September 21st and you're still operating iSummer tires. This car will be immobile. Do you want to purchase all-weather? This did not go uncommented on by the business world. And who did they reach out for a question about it? Mr. Elon Musk. Now, of course, he took to Twitter to reveal the big thing because he loves the attention.
I hate this because it's literally one tweet turned into a story on CNBC.
Every week. But it is an interesting one, if true.
Elon Musk says he once considered selling Tesla to Apple. Tim Cook didn't want to take a meeting. So he got a hold of the right personal assistant and just never got a response. And that's the entire story.
They didn't even embed the tweet. Come on, CNBC.
Again, they're trying to make this seem like more of a thing than it is. It's not a thing.
Now, this was during the production hell of the Model 3, and he has admitted that he almost just gave up. And he thought they were a month away from bankruptcy at one point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't that the story of a lot of companies like FedEx?
Yeah. Well, Amazon wasn't super successful in the beginning. So, yeah, you think Tim Cook's kicking himself, or is he happy to do it his way?
I think he's happy to do it his way.
Yeah. Well, and can you imagine having to do a contract negotiation with Musk?
Yeah, it'd probably,
And how
well.
bizarre
probably
that
be
would
a
be.
fist fight. At the I mean, he would say some shit that you couldn't just back away from. Yeah, I could see him burning a lot of bridges. But you could also make a lot of money. And a lot of people are motivated by money way more than they are, pride or whatever. I don't know if that's true of Musk. And another company that Mr. Musk helms that is about to get more competition is Starlink, because I guess this is kind of player 3 because we got, was it OneWeb?
Technically, I guess it's SpaceX. Starlink is the product.
Yeah, SpaceX. But this one may be better, but boy, are they behind. You got a lot of catching up to do here.
Yeah. Amazon's answer to SpaceX Starlink delivers 400 megabit in prototype phase. Amazon offers a peek into the development of antenna for Projekt Kuiper user terminal. This teardown, this diagram, looks a lot like the teardown. I watched somebody take apart one of their Starlink prototypes, and the little Starlink dish thing looks a lot like that in terms of like antenna array and placement and elements and stuff like that.
It's Kuiper. Don't correct it.
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure it's Kuiper. Isn't that Kuiper belt? Isn't that
Oh, yeah, the Kuiper belt.
Yeah, that's right.
Although I have heard people say Kuiper belt, but they were probably wrong.
They're very much wrong. Yes. Idiots, all of them.
Someone's gonna tell us we're idiots in a minute in the comments.
That's fine. I only read. I don't talk to anybody that's smart. I only read and talk like chat. So sound like an idiot. I'm fine with that.
Now this satellite is presumably better because it's like the send and receive are on top of each other, and somehow they've figured out how to make it not interfere. And it's going to be faster, lower latency, they claim. But all this is in the lab because they don't have any satellites yet. And they don't even necessarily have the rockets to get the satellites up there at this point.
It'd be a shame if something happened to them.
Yeah, you can't trust him, right?
Yeah.
Like, the Blue Origin has to launch these because you can't send them up on SpaceX. Maybe you could use like India or China or somebody.
Does Blue Origin have a rocket to do this? Because I don't
think so. No, I think it's all like planning for the future.
Is this going to be a thing where Bezos buys Musk out for the?
I don't think he'd sell it. Why would he?
Work on the next thing.
He needs to focus on the things he has. He needs to finish the food on his plate for once.
Right.
Now, Amazon, they certainly have the dry powder to do all this. I mean, they're not hurting for money. Time may be a different thing, but as far as money and generating more money, they just can't stop generating money. So much money. But there's one problem that Amazon has managed to completely neutralize until now that might come creeping in 2021.
Amazon to face U.S. union push in the year ahead. This is another Reuters article that lays out some very compelling, dark times ahead for Amazon. They're going to have to pay their workers, not the least of which is because they have so many more workers. The U.S. economy is single-handedly going to depend on that Amazon warehouse worker. They're going to have to be paid fairly.
Now, there is one warehouse in Alabama. It was Alabama, right?
I thought so.
And they are going to vote whether or not to unionize. And they will be the first. Now, Amazon is kind of like, why don't we just do a whole company vote? And this union was like, no. We would lose that. We're going to get them one at a time. It's going to be death by 1,000 cuts here. And so we will see if Alabama grabs the reins here.
Wow, you think in 50 years it's going to be, it's like we were the southwestern United States Amazon team, versus the nor'easters. It's like, the nor'easters have figured out new robot software. They're going to put us, southwesters out of business. Competing.
Are they do you get downsized if you're the least successful warehouse?
Yeah, like the entire team. Like your warehouse just stops receiving products.
I don't think Amazon has the infrastructure for that yet, but soon maybe. Once they buy up all those JCPenney's and Sears and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. What do you think? I think probably it's about 50-50 in my mind whether or not that'll go.
I read a leaked report from Best Buy, which was talking about how Best Buy had basically become a showroom for products, and they were like trying to figure out how they could embrace that. It's like people are going to buy stuff online, but they want to like see and hold and play with the products in stores. And it was with kitchen appliances, and they were like, maybe we could like retool the kitchen area so people could play with appliances and play with the air fryers and play with the products in order to buy whatever.
That's a lot of lawsuits.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, pandemic time, like making it more of an experience, because like that's the whole IKEA thing, right? I mean, you go there just to buy cheap furniture, but like part of the experience of going to IKEA is like doing the walkthrough and looking at all the stuff and how it's been organized and arranged so you can imagine it in your own living space. And then they have the cafeteria and the daycare center. It's like a whole thing.
That seemed to be what they were. That seemed to be what they were talking about with their Magnolia home theater thing, because they do that with like the TVs, and they were talking about how those TVs are not that much better. They're marginally better, but the profit margins on those were crazy because they had the room perfectly set up and the furniture perfectly set up and the sound system perfectly set up, and so people will just walk in and be like, "Yes, I want this in my house. However it needs to happen, just do that."
Well, as we noted earlier, the sales of computers and periphery computing devices is through the roof. And that's great. You know, you want to see the tech industry succeed, but as many of us have experienced already, that causes a big problem because you had a year where production was down and now consumption is up. Supply and demand has created a nightmare.
Laptops and desktop sales see renaissance. Shortages won't ease until 2022. This is kind of more information on the article that we reported last week, where we're talking about, like, it's not just semiconductor shortage, it's also other internal components that go into PC building. This article talks more about the semiconductor end of the shortage, which is not just, you know, like chokes, capacitors, surface mount, printed circuit board manufacturing. There's a lot of manufacturing and factories in, you know, Southeast China that are still shut down from this. So yeah, it's super sketch.
I'm hesitant to say this word. I think we should avoid that.
Yeah, no, we can't say this word at all.
And I don't even know if we want it on the screen, but we definitely need to remember to take it out of the one tab.
Yeah, it needs to not be in the one tab.
Because if you watch every episode of this, there's like 3 of you that do. Age verification. We got age verified last week,
and our appeal was denied.
Wow.
Yeah. Because Reuters is not a, you know, Reuters is rife with the A content. Yeah.
Let's hope the OCR doesn't get us. We'll show you the headline, but we won't say it.
Reuters, Visa continues its ban on the site, but it's going to allow card use on some of its parent sites. So if you're self-producing, let's say, that's not allowed. But professionally produced, you've got records on file in California, that's okay.
Which is kind of, I don't know if that's good or not. I mean, it seems like it was very empowering to some people who had no other income source.
If there was a site that was only for fans, the Visa's coming for you.
You know, now if this continues, you know what this could do? This could rapidly accelerate Bitcoin's acceptance.
Yes, it absolutely could.
Yeah. Because we always talked about Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, but where can you spend it? Well, if you could spend it here. So, yeah.
I don't know. That might be a PR issue for it.
Well, Bitcoin's
like, yes, it would be nice if it was spendable at those sites, but people might be like, oh, that's only you. You have Bitcoin? Oh, you must be one of those people who's on.
Yeah, you know, I don't think this particular audience will care.
No, they probably won't, but, like, if that's how the general people's minds think about it, it might not usher in acceptance in the way that you think.
I think it will. I think it will massively.
The growth and proliferation of that is single-handedly responsible for the proliferation of BBSs and modems.
Yeah,
and
the internet.
Ultimately the internet.
Probably like at least 25% of technological innovation of the last 60 years.
Pretty sure there's a documentary that goes into that in detail.
Do you think that VHS would have happened without it?
Probably not.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see where that goes. I don't think that company will fail. I think they will work around it, and I think their fan base is willing to jump through some hoops.
Yeah.
There was a story that came out prior to this, so this is the follow-up, but it covers everything, and it has to do with, now, BMW is saying, no, we'll never do that. But let's think back to all the patents we've seen. For example,
they absolutely will do that.
McDonald's wants to use this exact same technology to customize your drive-thru. And it's not like a hidden secret. They were like, oh my God, look what we're going to do. It's going to be amazing. And I think we're going to see a lot of this on the roads.
We are. BMW backtracks. We do not draw on warranty status for targeted ads. So there was a billboard that was scanning the traffic, and it's like, oh, there's BMWs in traffic. And it would change the billboard to be a BMW ad to be like, hey, have you got your maintenance agreement in place?
Warranty or whatever.
Yeah.
So if your car was out of warranty, they obviously knew that because they had the records, and they could immediately advertise a specific warranty for you. Now they claim, no, we're not doing that.
We were only recognizing that you were driving a BMW. That's all.
And it was 35 months old.
Yeah.
That's the cutoff.
Huh. That's not the dystopia exactly, but I mean, it still ranks up there.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about Cyberpunk. We talked about this a little bit on the stream. It's funny because I realized that it is the least helpful thing in the world to say, oh, it works fine for me.
Yeah.
But I'm certainly in that crowd. I think you are too.
Yeah.
Because I'm having a fine experience with it. You actually finished it.
I did,
over the break. Yeah. So, I mean.
Well, it was bugged, though. I could only have the crappiest ending because it stopped counting my progression.
But that's not really game breaking. I guess if the story means that much to you.
It is kind of game breaking when in a game that's supposed to be an RPG.
It's like, I have a choice in endings, and it's like, there's a bug that means that
Not
I don't
really,
actually
'cause
have
we
a
didn't
choice in
register your
it.
progress.
It's more
Like,
like
yeah.
real life.
Yeah.
You have no choice in your ending. But anyway, we're playing on PC, and we have decent PCs. We have not tried the console, where it seems like most of the problems are.
Yeah. Microsoft offers Cyberpunk 2077 refunds for all digital sales, but it's not pulling the game. And that it's not deleting it. And surprisingly, a lot of people that got refunds from Sony, Sony was first to move here. And Sony offered refunds first. But when Sony offered refunds, the game disappeared. Microsoft saw that and said, you know what, we'll offer refunds too, but we're not going to delete the game. And it's like, that's weird. I would not expect that. But apparently there are some people that thought that they could keep the game even after they got a refund, which is weird.
Why would you do that? Yeah.
But also, they're still selling it, right?
Microsoft is, but not Sony.
Microsoft
That's what I'm
is, yeah.
saying. Krista, I did a quick rearrangement here. The Cyberpunk stories need to go together and move the Microsoft past them.
Oh, I see
Just
that.
skip one and do the next two.
Yeah.
So, CD Projekt Red, I feel like they're getting too much heat here, but they are getting a lot of heat.
They are.
People are very angry.
I don't know that they are, considering how broken it is on consoles. Like, you can't advertise that it's going to work on consoles and have it be this broken.
That is true. And again, I don't know how bad it is. I mean, I've read, but I guess maybe it's just, like a simply not playable. But we've seen some
from what I've
broken games in the past. And nothing like this happened.
Looking at you, Bethesda.
But here we go.
Cyberpunk maker CD Projekt sued by shareholders and investors.
As one guy in particular, but he's trying to class action it.
So,
Oh, wow.
I think the only Fallout suit was over the canvas bags for the collector's edition.
There might have been another one, but it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Of course, this might not either. I think it will. So he's saying that as an investor, as a shareholder, they didn't reveal to him how broken the console version was, and that has cost him money. And in fact, their stock price has really suffered lately.
I have a friend who's been playing on a console. I can't remember which one. It's one of the older gen ones. And he said, he's like, the game is mostly fine. He's like, it's got the normal bugs that, are funny and you kind of expect. But he said it's really unstable. So he's like, you're constantly having to restart it, or it's just shutting itself down.
I think
So it's definitely bad.
I think the success though of Cyberpunk, this is going to be, I think this is going to be a marker in the future for when there was a shift, because there's going to be a return to the Deus Ex style gameplay mechanic and world building, because Cyberpunk does a lot of world building, and so it's going to support it's going to support a fairly expansive franchise if they can get this under control. And certainly there's fan support for it, because the last article pointed out that Metacritic, it's got a score of 90% on Metacritic, which is kind of high.
You mean user or
users?
Publication? Oh. Yeah, again, I'm perfectly happy with it. I mean, I was never expecting it to live up to the hype. What could?
Yeah.
I'm having a more fun time with this than Fallout 76.
I never played Fallout 76, so
it's not as good as New Vegas. I think New Vegas suffered unnecessarily, but versus Fallout 4.
I think one of the problems is that CD Projekt Red was such a darling in the industry.
Yeah,
because they were like, "Oh, DRM free, and we're going to give you free DLC with The Witcher," and everybody's like, "Oh, you're a god, and Bethesda sucks. They wish they were you." One of my favorite tweets of all time is somebody tweeted to Bethesda, and they're like, "Bethesda, listen, I just want you to know, just from the bottom of my heart, how much I love The Witcher. It's such an amazing game." And Bethesda was like, "Oh, thank you, but we didn't make The Witcher." And his response was, "I know, you could never make a game that good."
So mean.
So savage. But it might be CD Projekt's Red turn to take some of that flack, because the people who work there are maybe twisting their head and being like, "Are we the corpos? I thought we were the nomads. We might be the corpos."
Cyberpunk employees are getting a little disgruntled and angry internally. little bit of a disjointed thing. I can't quite remember the headline.
Yeah, the internal staff is speaking up. Now, after all of the fallout and stuff, they had some sort of like internal meetings where everybody could speak out, and they did, in fact, speak out. And they were very unhappy, not only with the brokenness of the game, but you almost killed us to get here, and it's broken. So, not a good time.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look good on, like, if they want to move eventually, it doesn't look good on their resume. If it's like, oh, you were part of that release? Oh.
Do we have the article about their bonuses? They just announced this morning that they're going to go ahead and give everybody a bonus. There was like, as the game was being developed, you would get these tokens. It was like, you did a really good job this week. Here, have a token. And then if the game did really well, like there were certain metrics, you could convert those tokens into cash. And they've announced the company is like, we're just going to give everybody bonuses because everybody worked their tail off, and we're not going to tie it.
You can cash out on your tokens whenever, or is it just like
well, that's,
you get a prize from the prize case at Chuck E. Cheese? Like,
but they had so many millions in pre-sales, but they're getting clawed back. So those tokens, like, what do you base it on?
I guess the company is saying that they did well enough, even with the refunds. They anticipate that to be a temporary issue. And that they've done well enough financially, they're going to give everybody the bonuses anyway.
I'm sure they broke even, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they probably made a little.
The Fallout, I think it was Fallout 4 New Vegas was the last game to have this kind of a...
There's no Fallout 4 New Vegas.
Or Fallout New Vegas, but it was a Fallout 4 engine. It's Fallout New Vegas?
Fallout 4 was after New Vegas. New Vegas was the other company.
Oh.
yeah.
Bethesda published it, but the other company, that's why it was so good.
I think it was New Vegas. Maybe it wasn't. But they were supposed to have a Metacritic score of at least 85. Like that was the benchmark, and the Metacritic score was 84. So they didn't get it. They didn't get their bonuses.
New Vegas was developed by Obsidian Entertainment and published by Bethesda.
You think Bethesda was like lining the pockets of certain game journalists? Like,
yeah, it was like
not too much.
84, 80, go 80.
Point shaving in the video game world.
I wouldn't put it past Bethesda. But
some mobs involved.
But according to the article, CD Projekt Red is going to pay the bonuses. So that's good. They should totally do that because
they can afford
even though the game is buggy, you can smell developer suffering on it. You can definitely, as a developer, we can see that, and there's a lot of it.
And there'll be a second wave after they fix it, and people, or the fans fix it, and we start seeing a lot of great memes and stuff coming out of it.
Yeah.
I think more people will go back and pick it up.
Yeah,
they might have to discount it a little bit, but they'll make money. Now, we have seen several instances so far this year of companies saying, you know what, I'm done worrying about all these fabs and stuff like that and all these chip makers and, Oracle and Qualcomm and all their rules and lawsuits and stuff. Let's just do it ourselves. Can add one more to the list.
Microsoft is going to make their own chips for ARM. Microsoft is looking at the success of Apple with the M1, and they're looking back at their own tragedy of a story with the Surface RT, and they're saying, what went wrong? What did we do wrong? I don't know what. Like, Microsoft made the Surface RT because they were like, oh my gosh, we can make cheap Windows devices, like cheap crap. This will be amazing. It's not going to cost us anything to make the Surface RT. Whereas I think Apple was looking at their ARM stuff and was like, we have to make it better than anything else we can buy.
And it seems like after some hiccups, the Apple stuff has worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I would never have guessed that Apple would do this well for an initial product, but they, like all things Apple, they pick and chose their battles, and so some things are hopelessly broken and will remain so until the next generation of product. But most things are great.
Now, Microsoft is going to focus on the server space first, and then try to go into the tablet chips.
ARM is coming. x86, what will we do? Like, I don't know. I don't think I'm super invested in the x86 architecture, but it'll definitely be weird, like, not using x86 in a few years.
It'll be a uncomfortable transition.
Yeah.
But who won't feel that at all is just the average consumer who's on the App Store. What do they care?
Yeah, they just... It's like, oh, it's obviously my fault that my application doesn't run correctly.
Or, they'll fix those applications because it's worth it. Yeah. We'll see. interesting times in the CPU space. Or, maybe the global collapse we'll be using x86 for the rest of our lives. And be happy to have that, Pentium that we unearthed somewhere. Had one bent pin, but we managed to put it. Now, the theaters, things are not looking so good for the theaters. And Warner Brothers decided to just dump all of next year's movies. And they're saying, you know what? Just put them on HBO. And unpopular for a lot of people. I have not checked out the Wonder Woman movie yet. Have you checked that out? It's available. You can look at it. Krista? Girl power?
I'm not into superhero movies.
Fair
Sorry. There, I said it. I don't really like superhero movies.
That was the sound of 12 people unsubscribing for Patreon.
They're just like, ugh.
But Warner Brothers has released this press statement to let us know that they are not completely giving up.
Warner Brothers still believes that theaters will still exist in 2023, not unlike drive-in theaters still exist today.
I think this is from the Mad Max movie.
Apparently, they're releasing a prequel called Furiosa.
Now that will be the return, or at least the flagship for the return to the theater for them. 2021, they're just putting everything on HBO Max, but they want to get back in 2023 to the theater experience, and they think that'll be long enough to sort of reset. Now
Mad Max might be our reality by the time that happens.
Yeah, it could be.
That's true, except we're not in Australia, so we don't have that nice desert wasteland.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot more, snow and stuff in ours. AMC has said, without $750 million coming from somewhere immediately, they're done mid-January. They got nothing left. Now, somebody would buy those, but that could be messy.
Well, no, it's probably a worse situation than that. A lot of those chains are so old, they probably had significant, investment in their real estate. And if they've mortgaged the crap out of that, then there's no value left in the company. So when the company folds, their debt is going to far exceed their assets.
Theaters need to become, rent by the hour and do what you want with a digital projector. That's the world we need to move to. You can watch a movie on it. You play games on it. You could, watch home movies, whatever you want to do.
You know what would be a lot of fun if it weren't for Nintendo's involvement? Would be a 4-way split screen GoldenEye on a theater projector.
We actually did that in high school. The projector wasn't as good, but it worked. It was fine. Voat. Now, I was never a user of Voat. You ever check it out?
Nope.
It was supposedly a Reddit clone without the speech restrictions. You do whatever you want. That brings its own problems, but that is not what killed them.
Free speech Reddit clone Voat says it will shut down on Christmas. Co-founder says that a key investor has backed out in March. Turns out when you invite the unwashed masses to your website, it costs a lot of money.
Look, these are goats. Get it?
So a pretty low effort stock image. They're like, what's Voat's logo? And they're like, I don't know. Just put a picture of a goat instead.
Well, it's because it's spelled V-O-A-T,
Yeah, but they could have done, most of the time when we do a social media story of any kind, the stock image will be a picture of the logo of that site. And no one knows what Voat's logo is, so they just put a picture of a goat instead.
So the angel investor just turned out to not be interested anymore, or maybe didn't ever have the money to begin with, or whatever. And the founder, who made a lot of money, was fueling it off of his own funds up until now, but he claims that he can't do it anymore.
Yeah, he was like, I'm out of money. Sorry.
He was affected by the thing.
So, yeah. It's an interesting idea, but I think to run something like Reddit, you have to have the normies.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get them on a vote. Sorry. As people who know what it's like to run a very fringe, media thing.
Community, yeah.
You're never going to hit those big numbers. Sorry. It's just not going to happen. You're not acceptable enough to the mainstream. And you know
That's why
what?
we appreciate our patrons for giving us money
Absolutely.
to keep the hosting for the forum.
Because
Thank you.
it's all we've got. We don't have the social skills to expand this.
No.
Now, another program that perhaps did not bring on enough of the normies and vastly overestimated the interest the normies might have is this one.
Square. It's actually Jack Dorsey, because Twitter, that guy, because he also is, Square. They were looking at buying Tidal, Jay-Z's Tidal, the one that fraudulently increased the number of views to things because artists were like, hey, if it's streamed that many times, you owe me a bunch of money. And they were like, no.
Actually, we're lying.
And after they reported those fraudulent numbers, allegedly fraudulent numbers, they stopped reporting any numbers at all for a couple of years, which is a terrible sign.
Yeah.
They counted on star power funding that, and I think the fickleness of the music audience was lost to them.
Yeah.
This is, it's kind of obvious. Certain companies really knocked it out of the park this year, and the question is, what do you do with all that dry powder, with all that cash? Apple is going to make self-driving cars, electric cars. Amazon is going into the stars. Zoom is doing some really boring stuff.
Zoom's successful, so they're looking into email and calendar services. I mean, yeah, it makes sense, but no.
Do we need another one?
We don't.
Also, there was all that stuff about their security early on. Do you think they've fixed all that enough to secure email?
No.
No.
Bad news. This
But someone
headline.
will use it, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it'll be, well, I'd say a lot of companies will be like, well, we're with them anyway, right? Might as well.
No, just, we should do a video on how terrible Google's user interface is and like how bad they are at designing things and how they're just constantly kill everything.
I read an article about that, how Gmail has just become this like, it's if you were to design it, that's the last thing you would design. Because
Yeah.
it's just morphed over time.
Yeah, it's this weird A/B test hell where like the A test is somebody is like has a hammer and they're just hammering your toes, and B test is somebody has like a corkscrew going underneath your fingernails, and it's like, well, I like the hammer better than the corkscrew, and then like there wasn't an A/B test of neither one of those, and that's how we've arrived at Gmail.
The worst thing in the whole Google suite is still analytics. Change my view.
They've come.
It's horrible to navigate.
Yeah, they're coming out with a new AI-based analytics that's like you just don't even want to know. It's a dumpster fire.
Well, 5G again, it's probably going to start coming back into, the awareness of the public because they're starting to roll it out more, and I guess maybe this vaccine's going to change everything. We'll see, but we are right back to these same kinds of headlines where it's like, yeah, 5G, you can get it, but it's not really that much different, and in fact, it might be worse than what you currently have.
Verizon's nationwide 5G can be slower than its LTE network tests show. We predicted this. PC Magazine has found that the carrier's nationwide 5G network can be a downgrade. Yeah, because the coverage is terrible. And 5G was designed for a density of towers that even if we had crews working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is just not going to get here in any reasonable amount of time. Ergo, the speed's going to be terrible.
Now, if you are within range of one of those towers, the speed is actually really good. It was like 400 megabits or something like that.
Yeah, but you have to be close, and there can't be a lot of other people on that tower. See, density plays a factor here too.
So, but if you are not around one of those towers, you're going to fall back to a different network than the LTE network, which is actually slower.
Yeah.
And the amount of time that you spend within range of one of those towers is probably going to be pretty low unless you're like, in a major city center and your job is near it or something, or your business.
Well, you're supposed to, in a city center, you're supposed to hand off from tower to tower to tower to tower really quickly because you get the density. You don't get a lot of people on every tower. The towers are cheap and easy to install. You got a lot of them. We're not there.
We've talked about this issue for a long time, and a lot of people have been ringing this bell because it's one of the stupidest things that the cable companies have ever gotten away with. if you think the broadband map is nonsense, and if you think that a Jeep Pi is, a criminal, and you agree with all that stuff, it pales in comparison to the offense of this policy, and they all did it.
Cable companies can no longer rent you the router you already own. So if you had an ISP, like say Frontier, they would charge you $10 a month for a modem. If you said, wait a minute, I could just buy the modem for $50.
And in 5 months,
Yeah.
that's paid for.
Yeah, they didn't allow that.
They would let you do it, but they'd still charge you the $10.
Yeah.
Not anymore. This is a fantastic, like the router as a crab.
It's got a lot of antennas.
That's great. Brilliant. Did they give attribution? No. That's not even a stock photo. That's just somebody at The Verge who happened to have that on his desk. Took it outside for some reason. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a headline in 6 months where it's like, they kept charging the $10, so we're going to fine them $2 million.
Yeah. Or they're complaining that, that $10 was what was keeping the company afloat, and now they're going to have to raise prices.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's sad. But if you were waiting for a time to do that, now might be the time. I am terrified to make any changes to my internet service because I'm afraid it's going to break and then they won't come and fix it because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I had the same problem that you had at my old house, and I complained about it 5 or 6 times. And they did come out and they did break it, but they never broke it for more than 2 or 3 hours at a time, because I would call and then they would immediately after they broke it, then they would send the same person back. So
maybe after the new year. Maybe that'd be a 2021 project.
Yeah.
That's a problem for future Ryan.
Now, well, it's a problem for current Ryan on Sunday nights. One thing about the modern world, and we're learning, these Chinese counter-spying operations and, NSA and FBI, and they're making copies of all of our phones and stuff like that. One thing about all of that is you need a lot of storage capacity. If you're going to make a copy of all human communication, modern technology is just not going to get it done just based on storage. Unless you're going to keep it for, 30 seconds.
Yeah, storage density.
So what are you going to do? Well, they're working hard on it over at Fuji.
Fujifilm and IBM set world record with 580 terabyte magnetic tapes. Working together over 15 years, IBM Research and Fujifilm achieved a record density of 317 gigabits per square inch. The tape moves 15 miles an hour.
I think it was 9, wasn't it?
Oh, 15 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Imagine, like, you turn the lights off and you go home, and then that tape comes off the track, and the next morning you come in, and it's been running at 15 kilometers per hour all night. It's just a big pile.
I would, if you could get these cartridges for like $100 or $200 each. I mean, that would be incredible. They're gonna cost a lot though.
It might come down. And they had to redesign a whole new head to read at that density as well. But they did it. 175 trillion gigabytes. Now it says here, by the time we reach 2025, the world will be creating 175 zettabytes of data. But it doesn't say in what time period. Is that per day?
I don't
Per
know.
year? China, as we know, this year consolidated a lot of power. It took some of the little quasi countries, and it was like, no, you will come back under the CCP umbrella. And if you don't like that, we will use water hoses on you. But one of the little ducklings that's still not recaptured is Taiwan. And that is a big point of contention for the Chinese.
Taiwanese horror game pulled from sale again after backlash in China. So this poster apparently says Winnie the Pooh is dumb.
I think Jinping's name's in there too, right?
Or yeah, maybe something about that. I don't want to string all those words together just in case the algorithm is listening.
Oh, we're paywalled. Yeah, I'm pretty sure his name was in there, which is weird because I think this was based in the 80s or the 70s.
Yeah.
When did he take power?
Not that long ago.
It's kind of an Easter egg. I mean, it would probably be pretty easy to miss if you're just playing the game, but
Yeah. It seems like faked outrage, but I could be wrong.
Now they
This game's also old.
this was
Couple
yeah,
of
yeah.
years.
So this has been taken off every gaming platform, and they finally found a new one. Guess who it was? GOG. Good old CD Projekt Red. Another rough headline for them this week. Now they've backed off. They've pulled it from the store. They claim that there was just a storm of Chinese citizens complaining. How much of that do you think was troll farming?
Almost all of it.
Yeah, who cares?
Oh, the Communist Party, Krista. They care a great deal.
But I mean, like, if you're just a random citizen, that'd be like me, like, really caring if someone did a parody of, any of our Congress critters. I don't care.
You think Jinping is aware of the Streisand effect? Or is that like a cultural
Probably
disconnect?
completely foreign.
You think somebody would...
Beyonce wasn't aware of it either. She tried to get a picture removed from the internet. Everyone was like, no, that's not how this works, sweetheart.
How weird is it that our leaders are so out of touch in those cases?
That's not weird at all. It makes perfect sense.
How terrifying is it?
Yeah.
Now this story, I remember we had some questions. We were like, that seems weird.
That does seem weird.
Does that really happen? It turns out, yeah, it was all real.
It was all real, and I only have more questions after reading this. And it didn't answer any of my previous questions.
But they basically, they didn't come out and say it, but they basically were like, yeah, all that stuff you said, we're guilty.
Yeah. After riots, iPhone manufacturer says it deeply regrets exploiting workers. Apple flags Wistrom for violations of our supplier code of conduct. So this was a Taiwanese company that was outsourcing to India, and they were apparently abusing employees. The employees rioted, caused a bunch of damage, and looks like it was legit. So Wistrom has said that they're trying to get it sorted out, but they didn't clarify what exactly that meant. So, yeah.
And Apple has said Winston will get no new contracts until they figure this out. But I think their current contract is still in, good standing. So they're still working.
It's like there's people rioting in the lobby, but we're still making phones. I mean, I guess it's good.
And those people said they weren't paid for... I don't know if it was they weren't paid or they weren't paid properly for 4 months.
That's a long time.
That's a long time to not get paid.
Wow, the riot video is quite violent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's $7 million worth of damage with, like, hand tools. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're just throwing rocks through the windows and stuff. There's cars turned over.
And turns out it was justified.
Pay your employees.
This is one of my favorite stories this week because, as usual, you get the truth in the court cases. This is court discovery.
This is one of the articles that I want to use in the video whenever we ever do it on marketing.
And oh boy, are these quotes damning. They were never meant to be publicly consumed, but they are the truth, I believe.
Facebook managers trash their own ad targeting in Unsealed remarks. This internal document suggests that Facebook should stop positioning itself as a champion of small business. So, you want to advertise on Facebook as a small business? That's worthless. The ads are a scam to take money from a small business and just have that money.
So this is an email from one of the engineers to the higher-ups, and they weren't trying to say, hey, we should stop doing this, or hey, we're evil for doing this. They were basically just saying, hey, I've taken a look at it. We should probably improve this because...
Interest precision in the U.S. is only 41%. That means that more than half of the time we're showing ads to someone other than the advertiser's intended audience. And even worse, internationally, we don't feel that we're meeting advertisers' interest accuracy expectations today. If you were buying an ad and it disclosed that, would you buy the ad?
So The Intercept or the whistleblower, whoever, somebody bought a bunch of ads and they were like, I want something very specific. And Facebook was like, of course, yes. Just tell us what you want. So he wanted people who made over $250,000 and had a bunch of other like specifics that Facebook offers. Like, yes, just click this button and we will filter that. And then he tested the returns on his advertising. Not a single one matched.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a scam.
And they scam very hard. I have some clients who I've helped set up like the Facebook pages, and they will email constantly like, do you want a consultation with us? Do you want to buy ads? You should buy some more ads. And it's like, gosh, leave me alone.
Yeah, it's so the article was literally people inside Facebook saying that Facebook is a scam for advertising for small businesses. Seems that's true.
Seems like it. And that is not the end of the embarrassment coming out of Facebook with internal quotes, because the Facebook employees are, they're kind of like that woke subculture, and they don't realize, I don't know how they've missed it, but they don't realize who they work for. And they keep they have this starry-eyed vision. It's like, hey guys, why are we doing this? Why are people tied up in the basement?
Or they understand who they work for, and they're so poor they can't go anywhere else.
Not based on these quotes.
No.
They are completely oblivious.
Facebook says that it's standing up for up against Apple for small businesses, but some of its employees don't believe it. So this is talking about the ads. So like in the context of the last article, think about the stuff that's going into this article. Apple versus the free internet. It's like, oh, we need to be able to do advertising, blah, blah, blah. But if their advertising program, as much spying, as much damage as can be wrought with something like Cambridge Analytica, they're just, it just feels like we're trying to justify doing a bad thing by hiding behind people with a sympathetic message. Yeah, that seems accurate.
That being Spotify and Epic Games and that email, Blue Mail or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, oh, the little guy, but they're not the little guy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good quotes in here. And the people at Facebook, again, Krista, I don't think they know. I don't know how they don't know.
Yeah, see, I can't even conceive of a world where you're working for someone like Apple or Facebook and think, this is probably a good company, right?
I guarantee you most of Tesla thinks that he's just a god.
I don't know about
like,
that.
Oh, he's changing the world.
Certainly half of our commenters do as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's people.
But,
you're overestimating people's ability to,
I'm thinking of the people on, like, in the case of Tesla, like on the ground floor where they were working in those like tents in the desert, and then they got shut down because they were like, you can't just put workers in a tent in 110-degree weather.
I don't know.
Those
Remember,
workers might understand who Tesla is.
there was the
I
thing
don't
where
know about their upper.
he purged the sales team, and they were like, "But I was part of the family. We had a vision. What? This is a business?
This is my new vision for you, down to the basement.
Corporations aren't people? What?
Corpos." And it's interesting because all of this, of course, stems from Apple having the gall to report accurately to its users what Facebook is tracking and how they're doing it, which is completely unacceptable. Now, to be fair, Apple's been known to do the same kind of thing. But in this case, they're not lying about Facebook. So if you're Facebook, what do about that banner? Well, apparently you fight fire with fire. I don't think this is going to work that well.
Facebook is now warning users about impacts on ads due to new iOS 14 privacy features.
So you get the banner if you launch the Facebook app on the iPhone, but then you get another pop-up banner in the Facebook app warning you about Apple. And
I think it's a great misdirection. I think it's great.
Everybody loves banners, right?
Yeah. No, I think this is going to be great. This is going to be Exhibit A when the eventual class action lawsuits come and the advertisers, like the Unilevers of the world, realize that the emperor is completely naked. They're going to sue the bejesus out of Facebook. And this is going to be Exhibit A in their defense. They're going to be like, look, it was Apple. They were messing with our stuff. It wasn't because our algorithms were terrible and we were terrible at targeting people and blah, 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 which is insidious in and of itself. But yeah, this is going to be Exhibit A in their defense.
Now, we talked about Voat, and Voat had the angel investor. They had the big capital, and then all of a sudden they didn't, because a lot of these big tech companies don't make money. I mean, if you take Facebook and you take away their ad platform, they don't make money. They lose a lot, actually.
And their ad platform is basically fraud.
So
41% accuracy.
So the question becomes, when you have a popular app or something like that, or a tech company, when do you start making money? I mean, with Amazon, it took years and years and years. But this is the critical time. Make it or break it. And
Telegram nearing 500 million users to begin monetizing the app.
Now, it's not going to be for the individual messaging. It's going to be, I guess they have rooms, kind of like, like the other...
Some commercial features.
Discord type of thing.
Yeah.
And that will advertise to you.
They have some Zoom-like features as well.
So, at least according to this, your individual communications will not be interrupted by ads, but group type stuff could. So,
if they're, we'll see how it works.
I mean, they do have to make money somehow. We've moved on to social media. In case
if you can't tell.
Yeah.
We don't have that much social media.
Very little. This one is interesting because ignore everything else about this, right? Why should a U.S. president care?
Oh, yeah.
Should they not have a lot more to worry about than this?
Yeah.
But apparently very angry, and I bet if it were the other way around, Trump would be even angrier about this. This would matter a lot to him.
Yeah. Twitter will make Joe Biden's @POTUS account start with 0 followers. So Trump inherited Obama's @POTUS, which had a lot of followers. But
I don't think it had as many as real Donald Trump, though.
yeah.
So he was, I mean, it kind of makes sense. He brought a lot to it because of his fame.
I don't know. Seems like a mess.
Such a stupid thing to argue about.
It really is.
Twitter is so
does it matter?
granular.
I mean, it doesn't really make sense. Like, if it's going to be the same account, president, I would think you could just leave it, but...
I kind of like the idea of resetting it, though. I really do.
Yeah.
But it's got to be consistent.
They're going to archive POTUS, was he 45?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be Trump's. He will not be able to tweet on it anymore. And then they've got all these other accounts that are also
Going to be reset.
going to go to 0.
That makes sense. I kind of agree with this, honestly.
What's La Casa Blanca? Oh, that's the White House. Who do you think's got at White House?
Whitehouse.com. Don't go there. I'm going to get flagged again.
What do you think? You think Biden will get back to those numbers that Trump had?
I don't know. It's either going to be the most amazing like gridlock dumpster fire of an administration ever, or a lot of stuff is going to happen really quickly, and then nothing.
The thing about it is, say what you will about Trump, he had an entertaining Twitter. I don't think Biden will.
No, it'll probably be very, but I'm kind of okay with that. I would like a little bit of boredom after this year.
There's a lot of times where I was thinking, it's like, oh, where's this going to go next? Like, how is that going to factor into the over? It's like, is this story arc going anywhere? And then I realize it's real life, and I get real sad.
Yeah.
It's going to be like Game of Thrones. It's never going to get resolved.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what happened with that sonic super weapon in Puerto Rico? I don't understand. And the embassy. It didn't
Murder
matter.
hornets.
And finally, we will wrap up on a story, a rare story, where YouTube is actually advocating for the users. Although I think it's more self-preservation than anything.
Yeah.
But also, the other crazy thing about this, not the first time we've seen this.
No.
Remember the troll lawyer?
Yeah.
Did he get criminal charges?
Yes. It ended very badly for that guy.
But it was pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. YouTube class action. Same IP address used to upload pirate movies and then file DMCA notices. So YouTube says that it has found a smoking gun to prove that the class action lawsuit filed by Grammy award-winning musician Maria Schneider and Pirate Monitor Limited were filed in bad faith. This looks incredibly damning. I really hope that they're able to flesh this evidence out. This is going to be a story that we're going to follow with eager interest. But literally, they were uploading the material to YouTube, and YouTube was flagging it really quickly with the automated system, but they did some stuff to it, and then they made it so the automated system, I guess, didn't detect it or whatever, and then they kept doing DMCA notices, and then that was the basis of their lawsuit, to be like, your system is ineffective. But they literally did it all themselves, the infringement.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
It looks pretty bad.
It does look pretty bad.
What if they use the IP cannot be tied to a person defense here?
That'd be funny.
Which is designed to like fight people like them?
I thought that they might do that, but apparently it's a whole series of IP addresses, because the uploads and notices came from clusters of IP addresses, and they were able to show that the same clusters of IP addresses as the uploads, were also reporting stuff.
Now here's the next question. You ever heard of Maria Schneider? Krista?
I don't know who that is.
Anything to you? Did she know, and will this destroy her career?
Yeah, Virgin Islands based Pirate Monitor. I think Virgin Islands based Pirate Monitor Limited is just gonna quietly retire to some Virgin Island and
but her name is on this.
Yeah, she'll just be like, whatever.
Maybe
this is gonna be one that we follow with great interest.
Yeah, I want to see what happens here. This unfortunately, I think what'll happen is they'll get in trouble, but not nearly. The consequences will be very small.
One hopes that the consequences are more in line with what happened to Prenda Law, but we'll see.
I would say let's hope that it's more akin to what happened at Nuremberg.
Whoa.
Virgin Islands, throw up a few scaffolds, live stream it.
Okay, live news tomorrow is our event. In case you haven't figured it out, we always do a special video on Thursdays, and we've been really consistent for that, like 3/4 to 9/10 of 2020. We're going to try to continue that for 2021. Our special video on Thursday is live.
And some people hate this, but most people like it. We will be drinking.
It's the year end, so come join us. Bring an alcoholic beverage of your choice.
It's a bit of a New Year's celebration.
Bad timing for that, though, because we've just, I feel, drawn the scrutiny of the algorithm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if I drink through the filters, it could be bad.
Or entertaining, depending on your viewpoint.
And I intend to. All right, that's the last one we got for today. Now, tomorrow, again, unrelated to this set of news, there will be another set of news tomorrow during the live stream. Then Friday, we'll go back to the previous week's news.
Yeah.
But it'll be nonsense and robot, which isn't as time sensitive.
Yeah. Although well, no, wait. Yeah, that's right.
Krista, give us a hyped for abusing alcohol goodbye.
Woo! Goodbye!